Should you draft Amari Hampton in fantasy football this year? Well, let's talk about it. Amari Hampton's a really interesting prospect he's been getting overshadowed by Ashton Genty in the lead up to this fantasy season just because, well, he's not Ashton Genty. But Hampton was still a really talented back in college who should look to make his impact on the NFL this year. Hampton is currently ranked as the RB16, and he's the 45th overall player on the board. As I alluded to before, he's a rookie. This is his first year in the NFL. He was drafted by the Chargers with a late 20s first-round pick. He's coming off 2 great years at the University of North Carolina where he had 1,500 yards and 1,600 yards with 15 touchdowns in both seasons. He's also shown some promise as a pass catcher. He averaged 34 receptions over the 2 seasons where he was the lead back, as well as 290 yards. And he's got a lot of promise. He's not Ashton Genty. He wasn't breaking any records, but he's a very solid bet. He's taken in the first round. And he's going to a team that is a very good run-friendly offense. Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, they like to run the ball. Last year it was a little difficult with the Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins 1-2 punch. Wasn't really what they wanted, so they upgraded the running game with Amari Hampton. And so Hampton's going into a great situation. The main problem is the Chargers also brought in Najee Harris, which is good for them. I love the Chargers having both Najee Harris and Amari Hampton. The problem is, the question then becomes, how much is Najee Harris going to impact Amari Hampton's value? Amari Hampton is currently, a mid-4th round pick. He's not too crazy high, but it's still a valuable pick in the 4th round for as a fantasy owner. And the question just becomes, how is this backfield going to shake out? I think we can all agree that Amari Hampton by the end of the season will be the lead back. But the question is he going to be a 1A back or a 1 back? Is it going to be a committee for the entire year with Najee always being annoying, or is Najee going to, fade out towards the year as Hampton becomes the dominant back and gets the majority of the carries and maybe a 3-1 share? And I just don't know what to think. There's all kind of news coming out of the camp. Everyone kind of agrees Hampton's the lead back. But it's hard to discern, what is Najee roles? Because people are always oh, well, Najee's looked pretty good in the offense, and the coaching staff's excited about Najee. So then the question becomes just, how much is Najee going to go away over the course of the year? Because there's a scenario where Amari Hampton is a league winner down the stretch if Najee fully goes away. But there's also a scenario where he's just, an elite RB3, fringe RB2 if Najee stays around the entire year, because Najee will probably then also be, a low-end RB3. And I tend to lean more towards, I think Najee is kind of this back who he might not be fantasy relevant a lot of the time or elite fantasy talent, but coaches like him. So I think Najee's going to stay around enough to where I'm not super in on Amari Hampton. I still like him, but I'm only going to give him a B-.